there is a close relationship between the Lokayat philosophy and the Arthashastra tradition. Kautilya is the last representative of Arthashastra tradition. Before Kautilya, there is a long line of Arthashastra teachers. Their viewpoints are cited in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Their viewpoints are cited in the Mahabharata, especially Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. And some of the references are scattered in Ramayana also, and Jataka also, in the Buddhist literature also. So therefore, the Arthashastra tradition and the Lokayata philosophy had a very close relationship. And in the Buddhist tradition, while explaining the word Lokayata, it is said that Lokayata means one who is expert in learnity, who is expert in political science, and according to Buddhist ethics, the Lokayata viewpoint, as far as war is concerned, as far as state is concerned, as far as the interest of the state is concerned, this viewpoint is immoral viewpoint. It is a low type of science, and therefore Buddhist bhikshus should not accept Lokayata philosophy viewpoint as well as the Arthashastra viewpoint. So as far as Buddhist philosophy is concerned, Buddhists are opposed to Lokayata philosophy as well as they are opposed to Arthashastra tradition. In the Jatakas, one can say there is a caricature of these Arthashastra teachers. They are called Kshatriya Vidyavadis. So therefore, there is a, as far as Buddhist tradition is concerned, there is a hostility. As far as Lokayata philosophy is concerned, as far as Arthashastra tradition is concerned. Now what is this Arthashastra? Madhu in his Manushruti says that Arthashastra is a Drushtartha Smriti. Arthashastra is a Drushtartha Smriti. Arthashastra is a Drushtartha Smriti in the sense that Arthashastra is dependent upon the Pratyaksha Pramana. It is dependent upon direct evidence of senses. Whatever conclusions are derived by Arthashastra teachers, these conclusions are derived on the basis of phenomenal world. Whatever experiences people are having, on the basis of these experiences, the experiences which could be seen, which could be experienced. Therefore, it is called Drushtartha Smriti. So therefore, Manusmriti has made it clear that Arthashastra is a Drushtartha Smriti. And from that point of view, we will have to understand the nature of Arthashastra tradition. Now, as far as Arthashastra tradition is concerned, Arthashastra tradition in ancient India originated in the 6th century BC. There are different viewpoints as far as origin of Arthashastra tradition is concerned. But as Professor K.P. Jayaswal says that Arthashastra tradition originated in the 7th century BC. Professor A.S. Altekar in his book State and Government in Ancient India says that Arthashastra tradition was originated in the 6th century BC. But it is the opinion of Professor U.N. Ghoshal that this tradition originated in the 5th century BC. Now this Arthashastra tradition originated during the great intellectual ferment that was taking place in the 6th century BC India. That was the period when different type of intellectual, one can say, experiments were made by the people. We have, in the Buddhist literature, we have references to 6 different teachers. Prakuddha Katyayan, Sanjay Belakiputta, Ajita Kesha Kambali, Nigant Nathaputta, Makhani Goshala. These are the great teachers who express different viewpoints. Ajita Keshikambali, Puran Kashyap was the sixth. So these six teachers, they were great teachers and they flourished during that period. At that time, Buddha also was teaching his philosophy. So there was intellectual, one can say, ferment, and there were clashes, intellectual clashes between Buddhist philosophers, Jain thinkers. Makhali Gosada's philosophy was Ajivika philosophy, where he thought that fate is the most important thing. Sanjay Belaji Putta's philosophy. So these schools were there. Along with these six teachers, Niranjanatha Buddha is Mahavir Varma. His disciples were also there. During that period, there were people who were moving teachers. They were the sophistic predecessors of Kautilya. These were called Paribrajakas. There were many Paribrajakas who were moving about and teaching different schools of political philosophy. These Paribrajakas were free thinkers. They used to have 300 to 400 disciples. And along with these disciples, these Paribrajakas used to move about. Professor B.M. Barua, in his book, History of Pre-Buddhistic Philosophy, has described that these were the free thinkers. They were cut off from the traditional society and they questioned basic assumptions of Vedic philosophy. They questioned Vedic dogma and they were supporters of new ideas. During that period, there were Kutuhal Shalas. There were Kutuhal Shalas. Kutuhal Shalas means there were the places, there were the halls. In these halls, these Paribrajakas used to stay along with their disciples. And there were, one can say, gatherings of different people and there were discussions. There were arguments. Buddha also frequently visited these Kutuhal Shalas. These Kutuhal Shalas were normally maintained by the kings. Sometimes they were maintained by the rich Draupadi's. And they were situated in the park of the city. And that park was lined by the tall trees. And there these people used to stay. During the rainy season, during the winter season, all these Paribrajakas and their Shishyas used to stay there. And there used to be a lot of discussion of the nature of state, their immortality of soul, colonization of states. So as far as these Paribrajakas were concerned, these Paribrajakas did not discuss spiritual matters. Paribrajakas normally discussed wars and treaties, conspiracies, ministers, colonization, building of new cities, the policies of the king and all these things. This clearly showed that these Buddhist Paribrajakas were predecessors of Arthashastra teachers. Some of them must be Arthashastra teachers also. Unfortunately, except Kautilya's Arthashastra, no other text on Arthashastra is available now. All other texts on Arthashastra that were written by earlier scholars, these texts are not available now. And whatever viewpoints, whatever ideas these Paribrajakas or these wandering teachers expounded, some references are there in the Buddhist literature. As far as Brahmanical literature is concerned, there are no references to these Paribrajakas. And one can say that in the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, some references are there. Otherwise, their revolutionary ideas are now not available to us because their texts are not available. These thinkers question Vedic dogma. They question authority of the Vedas and one can say efficacy of Varna system. They question the concept of immortality of soul, and they were of the opinion that interest of the state is more important than the basic concepts of morality that are expounded by Dharma. So basically they were against the principles that were expounded in the Dharma Sutras, that were expounded in the Dharma Shastras, Smriti literature. But they were also not supported by the Buddhists. Buddhists thought that their concept of political science is not consonance with Buddhist philosophy as far as Buddhist concept of morality is concerned. Buddhists do not accept this type of ideas where interest of the state is considered more important. It is said that if the teacher, father, mother, brother opposes the king, if he is working against the interest of the kingdom, he should be killed. So as far as this viewpoint is concerned, there was no moral compunction as far as these Parivrajakas and their teaching was concerned. And therefore, as far as Buddhist tradition is concerned, Buddhist tradition did not support. Buddha said that you should not accept Lokayata philosophy. The Lokayat teachers are preaching immoral things. Therefore, Buddhist bhikshus should not go closer to Lokayata teachers, his Arthashastra teachers. Now the Arthashastra tradition, which one can say gave birth to ancient Indian political thought, is the tradition which was developed by three sets of people. Three sets of people developed Arthashastra tradition. These three sets of people were, first were the wandering teachers, these Parivrajakas. They were responsible for, one can say, development of Arthashastra tradition. The second set of people were the ministers of the king. Ministers of the king who had first-hand experience of running the administration. They were also, one can say, responsible for composition of Arthashastra. And the third set of people were the royal priests. The priests also played a very important role as far as composition of Arthashastra is concerned. In fact, the tradition attributes origin of Arthashastra tradition to two royal priests, Shukra and Brahaspati. Shukra was the royal priest of Asuras and Brahaspati was the royal priest of Devas, gods. And interestingly, both of them are atheists, both of them don't support Vedic dogma, and both of them are supporters of, one can say, primacy of politics as far as Vidyas are concerned. So though they are priests, Shukra and Brahaspati, though they are priests, they are supporters of Lokayata philosophy. They are the supporters of Arthashastra tradition, or they are the originators of Arthashastra tradition. Therefore, Kautilya also saluted him, and most of the authors of political science who wrote books on political science subsequently, they also saluted Shukra and Brahaspati. The last, one of the last, we can say, political scientists who wrote a book on political science is Somadeva Suri. His name of his book is Niti Vakyamrita. So instead of saluting the Tirthankaras or Jain Munis, he saluted Shukra and Brahaspati. That he began his Niti Vakyamrita with saluting Shukra and Brahaspati and saluting the state which is the basis of welfare of the people. Therefore I salute the state. Raja Vraksha, he said, state is something like a tree which gives shelter to the people. So important thing is these three thinkers, three sets of people gave birth of Arthashastra tradition in ancient India. Parivrajkas, the ministers of the king, and the royal priests. Kautilya, in his Arthashastra, said that there are two types of Arthashastra teachers, Vaktru and Prayaktru. Vaktru means those people who are expert in political science, who have a theoretical knowledge of state and state policies. And Prayaktru are the people who have direct experience of running the administration. So Parivrajkas are Vaktru and Prayaktru are the ministers and royal priests of the king. The royal priests during the, one can say, post-Vedic period played a key role as far as running of the state is concerned. Their advice was considered most important. They used to perform many sacrifices. And with the help of those sacrifices, the legitimacy of the king was, one can say, established. Sacrifices like Rajasuya sacrifice, Vajpayee sacrifice, all these sacrifices were there. But along with that, it is said that these priests should be trained in the Atharvan practices. Atharva Veda had two aspects, Atharvan aspects and Angira aspects. As far as Atharvan aspects are concerned, they are necessary for the welfare of the people. They are good. But as far as Angira aspects are concerned, and that is called Ghor. Ghor means terrible. So Angira aspect of Atharva Veda was use of incantations, use of black magic, use of, one can say, magical formula and some sort of mantras to defeat the enemies. So there are many evidences in Brahmana literature that some of the kings employed some Atharvan priests to kill the enemy kings. Professor Zimmer, who has written a book on philosophies of India, he has given example that 6 kings were killed by one post-Vedic king with the help of that dying around the holy fire. That is the, one can say, sacrifice that was performed by the priest. And 6 kings were killed, enemy kings were killed. So the essence of that ritual, according to Zimmer, was the all Panchamahavutas. They should be used with the help of Vedic mantras, the Atharva mantras. Their power should be concentrated, and that concentrated power should be used against the enemy so that enemy will get destroyed. So during the Atharva, during that post-Vedic period, priests were considered very important, and priests used to perform these sacrifices, black magic, to kill the enemy kings. And at that time, people believed that with the help, by employing these Angira practices, these Ghor practices, you can destroy your enemies. In the Rajatarangiri, we have 2 or 3 examples where the kings used these Atharvan practices, used the priests to kill their enemies. That means the younger prince of that kingdom, Kashmir kingdom, he decided to kill his brother who was the sitting king, and he did it successfully with the help of the black magic. Indira Gandhi, Chandra Swami, B.V. Narasimha Rao, H.N. Bahuguna, all these politicians used to take recourse to black magic in recent times. So what to talk about other that type of people, when people were traditional people.
मार्गरेट थैचर को इंक्लूड करें मन मार्गरेट थैचर को इंक्लूड करें मन
But if you believe in the veracity of networking, and as far as politicians in India are concerned, it is very difficult to believe in them. Because that is the testimony of networking only, that Margaret Thatcher was also influenced. I am doubtful. But with modern times also, this magical formula they used. Therefore, during the post-British period, it is but natural that some people believed in it, some people perhaps did not believe in it. But once the 6th century intellectual ferment started, when the basic assumptions of Vedic dogma were being challenged by the six teachers, they were challenged by Parivrajakas, they were challenged by Gautam Buddha, Mahavir Vardhaman, and then people realized that these magical formula were of no use. With the help of these magical formula, we cannot win wars, we cannot defeat the enemies. So there is a, one can say, gradual disengagement of the people from the traditional dogma, from the superstitions that were perpetuated by the priestcraft during that period. So during the period of this great intellectual ferment, influence of this, one can say, black magic, especially Atharvan practices remained. But these practices, black magic, these practices were not considered very important because they were not giving that type of support to the people who performed them. But in the Arthashastra tradition also, its importance was always accepted. So there is one section, chapter number 14, in the Kautilya's Arthashastra. And in that chapter, Kautilya has suggested the different type of magical devices that can be used against the enemy king by the king. So the details are there. We don't know how different type of poison should be created, how they should be fermented, how they should be employed, and different sacrifices and all these things are there in detail as far as that chapter in Kautilya's Arthashastra is concerned. But gradually, during that intellectual ferment and afterwards, belief in the magic or magical formula declined. Now the royal priests who were experts in these magical formula, they realized that now they will have to have new science, they will have to have new type of knowledge to be relevant. If they want to be relevant in the court of the king, they have to have a new type of knowledge, new type of, I can say, formula which could be useful to the king. Therefore, they started studying new political reality that was taking place in the 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 4th centuries in BC. So what was that new situation? The new situation was that old pastoral economy gave way to agricultural economy. And by 7th century BC, there emerged a large number of Janapada states in ancient India. These Janapada states there were hundreds of Janapada states. These states assumed territorial identity by 7th century BC. They were small in number as far as the size is concerned. The size was not a very large state was there. States were small. But Japanese tribe, the area where the tribe is settled, that was called Janapada. And that was styled after the particular tribe that has settled their Janapada. Kuru Janapada, Pachala Janapada, Videha Janapada. These are the tribes that were there, and these tribes settled down there and they styled after that tribe. So there were a large number of Janapada states in ancient India. And during that period only, these Paribrajakas, royalties and ministers started studying the phenomenon of state. State assumed a territorial form. During the Vedic period, that was a kingship, that was a chiefship. Still, state hasn't yet assumed territorial form. But during the 6th, 7th and 6th centuries BC, states started assuming territorial form. They had their own economic base. They had different type of political consciousness. And because of that only now, with the help of territorial consciousness, some sort of economic standing, some sort of territory, and a rudimentary form of government, one can say that rudimentary form of state was formed in the Janapada kingdoms, and therefore these Janapada kingdoms became, one can say, experiments as far as these thinkers were concerned. So therefore these thinkers, according to Professor Ghoshal, these thinkers carried out inductive investigation into the phenomenon of the state, and on the basis of that, they started developing their own concept of Dandaniti, their own concept of Arthashastra. Arthashastra is a term that is used by Kautilya. But there are 3 or 4 different terms that are used to explain the term political science. Arthashastra is there. Perhaps the oldest term is Dandaniti. Kshatriya Vidya, that is there in Sandarbha Upanishad, that is mentioned. Kshatriya Vidya is there. Then Rajaniti, Rajadharma, and Niti Shastra. Niti Shastra became the latest one, can say. So Dandaniti, Arthashastra, Kshatriya Dharma, Kshatriya Vidya, Rajadharma, these were the different, Rajashastra also. These were the different terms used by Arthashastra teachers, used by, one can say, Dharma Shastra and Arthashastra thinkers. So Arthashastra is based upon one of the Trivarga ideals. Dharma, Artha and Kama are the 3 Purusharthas, 3 goals of life, and Artha is the goal of life, one of the important goals of life. So Artha is based upon the science of Varta. Varta means agriculture, trade and cattle breeding. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam. Artha is aimed at general well-being of the people. At the basis of Artha is Varta, that is science of economics. But Artha is a broader term than this. It covers economics as well as it covers political science also. Acquisition of the land, Manushyavati Bhumi, acquisition of land, acquisition and preservation, and one can say development. All these 3 things are important as far as Artha is concerned. Land is important, land has to be acquired, it has to be cultivated, it has to be developed, maintained. And therefore, Arthashastra is a broader term, therefore some people say that the exact translation will be political economy. Instead of politics, it should be political economy. But as far as Kautilya's Arthashastra is concerned, or Shantanu Mahabharata is concerned, the broad meaning of Arthashastra is political science. Now this Arthashastra was developed by 3 sets of people, I told you. And that was during the 6th centuries BC. And their names are, one can say, cited by Kautilya in the Arthashastra. Kautilya has said that his book on political science, his book on Arthashastra is composed on the basis of Arthashastras that were previously written by Arthashastra teachers. Unfortunately, as I have said, the texts of these texts of books written by these Arthashastra teachers, the texts are not available. Professor P.D. Kane has written one article in Bhandarkar Oriental, Analysis of Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute about these Rajashastras of Manu, Bharadwaja, Brahaspati. So these Arthashastras, in fact, were written, they are copies of the texts of these Arthashastras, according to Professor Kane. These texts of these Arthashastras were available to the people. And therefore, Mahabharata cites in Shanti Parva, viewpoints of these teachers are cited. So they are cited from those texts that were available to the, one can say, redactors of Mahabharata. They were available to Kautilya. They were available up to, one can say, 10th, 11th century AD. After 11th century AD, unfortunately, these texts disappeared. So there is a great loss as far as, because of this discipline of political science in India could not develop because of that. Because apart from Kautilya's Arthashastra and Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, there is no, one can say, authoritative text on political science. If these texts were to be available before us, available to us, this science of politics would have become one of the important disciplines in India. Still, because of the work of these Arthashastra teachers, apart from the dominant Western tradition, which began with political ideas of Plato, and still it is one of the, you can say, Western political philosophy, Western political thought is one of the most creative disciplines as far as political philosophy is concerned. Apart from that tradition, as Professor Mackenzie Brown has pointed out, Indian tradition is the only tradition which can be cited as an alternative to that tradition. There is no other political tradition as rich as Indian tradition. The Islamic tradition was there, it flourished during the Middle Ages, but afterwards it did not, one can say, continue. It lost its creativity. After Al-Farabi and all the people, and then Islamic tradition was also greatly influenced by Greek philosophy. Other traditions were not there, only tradition is Indian tradition apart from that. So this is very important thing, as Mackenzie Brown, a political scientist, has pointed out. Okay? And Norman Palmer also. Okay? This is the only tradition after the dominant Western tradition which survived and which is rich and which is, one can say, it can provide an alternative to Western philosophical tradition. So here we have seen that three sets of people, Parivrajkas, ministers and royal priests played a very important role in the composition, in the development of Arthashastra. In Kautilya's Arthashastra, there is a mention of these teachers. First, Kautilya mentions that there are four schools. There are four schools of Arthashastra tradition. The first school is that of Manu. They are Manavas, the school of Manu. The second school is school of Parashara, Brahaspati. Third school is school of Parashara. And fourth school is school of Ushanasa or Shukra. Manu, Brahaspati, Parashar and Shukra. These are the four schools of political science according to Kautilya. And Kautilya cited their opinions on different issues in the text. Now, what were their positions as far as key aspects of political science were concerned? That is important. In one instance I am going to use. Kautilya talks about the four sciences: Anvikshiki, Trayi, Varta and Dandani. Anvikshiki means philosophy. Trayi means three Vedas. Varta means economics, that is cattle breeding, trade and agriculture. And Dandaniti means political science. These four sciences are important. Now what is included in philosophy or Anvikshaki by Kautilya? As far as Kautilya is concerned, Anvikshaki for him is philosophy. For Mahabharata, it is Tarkashastra, Tarkavidya. And in the subsequent it is Atmavidya. Spiritualism, logic and philosophy. So gradually when influence of spiritualism increased, philosophy was considered as a part of Adhyatma Shastra. But during the Arthashastra period, during the 6th century or 3rd century BC when Arthashastra was composed, at that time Anvikshaki was called philosophy. It was based upon logic. So what are the schools of philosophy that are included by Kautilya in Anvikshaki? The three schools are included: Sankhya, Yoga and Lokaya. Sankhya, Yoga and Lokaya. Sankhya philosophy, Yoga philosophy and Lokaya philosophy. So Lokaya philosophy enjoyed that much prestige that it was included as one of the important philosophies. It should be studied by the king. So why should we study philosophy? Why should we study Anvikshaki? Kautilya said that Anvikshaki should be studied. What is studied? To understand what is dharma and adharma in three Vedas. What is dharma and what is adharma? What is good policy, economic policy, and what is bad economic policy in Varta, in economics? What is good policy and bad policy in Dandaniti or politics? It is with the help of philosophy only we can develop a sense of discrimination. What is good and what is bad. Therefore, Kautilya says that it is Sarva Vidya Pradeepa. Philosophy is Sarva Vidya Pradeepa. It is a light. It is a lamp which throws light on all the sciences. Therefore, it should be studied. With the study of philosophy, we can bring about betterment of thought, speech and action. Our thought, our speech and our action can be improved with the help of study of philosophy. Therefore, philosophy should be studied. Now, philosophy, three schools. What is the meaning of yoga? You ask me whether their yoga means what? Vaisheshika is not there. According to Professor D. Chattopadhyay, yoga means Vaisheshik philosophy. Chattopadhyay is of the opinion that yoga means Vaisheshik philosophy. Because it is Nyaya and Vaisheshik philosophy, because it is strong in logic. Therefore, Kautilya must have included yoga as one of the parts of philosophy. It is the opinion of some people, I think Sadanand More also, that yoga means karma yoga. That is preached by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So yoga is karma yoga. Yoga doesn't mean yoga, Nyaya Vaisheshik philosophy. Yoga means the philosophy of karma yoga that was preached in Bhagavad Gita. yoga karma supaushani, that is what Gita tells us. So yoga means that. So still there is a discussion on the Professor Walter Rubin, a German philosopher, is of the opinion that it is karma yoga only. It has nothing to do with philosophy. It Nyaya Visheshik philosophy. The king has to perform his duties in the spirit of disinterestedness, in the spirit of selflessness. And that spirit of selflessness can only be acquired with the study of philosophy of karma yoga, that is Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, yoga means karma yoga, according to Professor Walter Rubin. So these differing viewpoints are concerned as far as, there are differing viewpoints as far as philosophy of yoga is concerned. But I tend to support more that it must be, I think, philosophy of karma yoga only. This yoga, therefore Kautilya included in this. Now, what were the viewpoints of these thinkers, these four schools? As far as comparative importance of these philosophies are concerned, these disciplines are concerned, vidyas are concerned. It is the opinion of Manu that king should study these vidyas, king should study these disciplines, but king need not study philosophy. Anvikshiki need not be studied by the king because Anvikshiki is a part of Trayika. The Manu, he has made his philosophical position clear. Philosophy is a part of Vedas. Philosophy doesn't have any independent existence. Therefore, philosophy need not be studied because it is a part of Vedas. It is the opinion of Brahaspati that Trayika should not be studied. Vedas should not be studied because Vedas are fabrication of lazy cheats. Vedas Kartara Dhurta Phanda Nishajana. I think Sarvadarshan. But here he says that it is Samvarana. Veda is a Samvarana. Veda is a Samvarana. It is a cloak by the Brahmins to cheat, to plunder the people. So Veda should not be studied. King should study only two. Varta and Dandani. Economics and politics should be studied. Other schools should not be studied. Shukra is the guru of Daityas. Shukra says that only politics should be studied, other sciences need not be studied. Shukra says that all other sciences are the part of political science. All other sciences are part of political science, therefore only political science should be studied. Other sciences need not be studied. According to Professor K.J. Shah, a great philosopher from Karnataka University, Professor Shah said that the meaning of this contention is that Shukra wants to develop, one can say, all pervading science of humanity, human science, in the form of political science. He doesn't say that only political science should be studied. He says that all other sciences are included in political science. So he wants to broad-base political science in such a manner that all other sciences also become part of political science. So a comprehensive theory of, one can say, social sciences can be developed, human sciences can be developed with the help of Shukra's position as far as importance of political science is concerned. So Shukra and Bharadwaj and other political Arthashastra teachers supported this. That political science is the only science. Other science need not be studied. Now, as far as this background of Arthashastra tradition is concerned, that background we have discussed. These four schools were there, and there were different teachers whose names are cited by Kautilya as well as they are cited by Mahabharata also. Manu, Shukra, Brahaspati, Bharadwaj, Vishalaksha, Indra and Gauri Shirasa. Rajya Shastra Pranetaha. These are the 7 originators of Rajya Shastra, that is what Mahabharata said. These are the 7 originators of Rajya Shastra, political science. Professor B.M. Barua has pointed out that all these teachers used to have their own nicknames. These names were given to them or they adopted themselves, we don't know. So some people try to identify who are these people. What are the names? Names are Vishalaksh, Kaunapadant, Vishalaksh, Kaunapadant, Vat Vyadhi, Dighanakh. Different type of names are these. Are Unka Kautilya also must be. Pishuna, Bahudanti, Bahudanti Putra, Pishuna Putra. These are the names. Who are these people? These are the pejorative names given to these people. Even Kautilya is also, for some people say it is a nickname. Now they say that according to Dr. D.R. Bhandarkar, son of Professor R.G. Bhandarkar, Vishalaksha means Shankar, Bhagwan Shankar. Kaunapadanta means Bhishma. Because Bhishma's father, Shantanu, had bad teeth. His teeth were completely decayed. Therefore, Kaunapadanta means the son of Shantanu, that is Bhishma. Vata Vyadhi, the one who had a disease of gases. Vata Vyadhi. So, who was Vata Vyadhi? Vata Vyadhi means Uddhav. Uddhav, one of the disciples, one of the ministers in the Republic of Andhra. He was a Krishna's colleague and he was expert in political science. Vata Vyadhi. It is Uddhava who suggested to Pandavas that instead of attacking Jarasandha with the help of army, it will be better to go there and challenge him in the duel between Bhima and Jarasandha. Jarasandha was killed because of this trick that was suggested by, this strategy was suggested by Vata Vyadhi, that is Uddhav. Then Bahudanti, that is Indra. Because Airavata, that is the elephant of Indra, Indra the elephant that had a teeth like a hand of man. Therefore, Bahudanta. Vishuna means Narada. Vishuna means Narada. So these are the names of few, one can say, teachers. They are identified by Professor D.R. Bhandarkar. But scholars don't agree with him. Some people say that no, this is not correct. But that type of discussion will go on as far as these things are concerned. Now, what is the relationship of Lokayata philosophy and the Arthashastra tradition? I have said that in the Buddhist literature, there is a close there is a identification. There is identification between the Lokayata teacher and Arthashastra teacher. The Lokayata means the one who taught political science, and that political science was a self-serving political science, where morality was not given important position. What was the epistemology of Arthashastra tradition? What was the epistemology of Arthashastra? Kautilya in his Arthashastra divides Vedic literature in two parts. First is Trey, that is the three Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda and Samveda. And the second he calls Veda, Trey and Veda. In Veda he includes Atharva Veda and Itihasa Veda. Itihas is called Panchama Veda. Itihas is called the fifth Veda. Now, in the Itihasa Veda and in the Atharva Veda, one can say, in Atharva Veda, Arthashastra is considered as its part of Veda. Dharma Shastra and Arthashastra, all these, one can say, social sciences are considered as a part of Atharva Veda. They are related to Atharva Veda. And Itihas, Panchama Veda, Itihas Veda, the legends, stories, the Puranas, the genealogies of kings, all these things are included in Itihasa Veda. The Arthashastra tradition developed the science of political science with the help of this Itihasa Veda. According to Professor D.K. Bedekar, there are two words, Itihas and Purana. So Itihas means the legends of origin, and one can say folk stories and all these things, they are included in Itihasa. What we hold today as Itihasa is not, one can say, accepted by the ancient people. So for them Itihasa is legends and stories, and Purana is historical tales. According to Professor D.K. Bedekar, Purana means historical tales and Itihasa means the legends and stories and folk literature and all these things. So both Itihasa and Purana are important as far as development of Arthashastra is concerned. Kautilya in his Arthashastra, one can say, developed different arguments with the help of citations from the stories from the past history. He has given that 6 enemies and how the 6 enemies of the 6 enemies should be conquered, and how in the past, when king was slave of these 6 enemies, he was killed, how Duryodhana was killed, how Nala was deceived. So all these old stories are cited by this Arthashastra to, one can say, establish a particular viewpoint. So therefore, Itihas Veda was the most important source as far as development of Arthashastra was concerned. But unfortunately, most of the literature on Itihas Veda is not available. That entire Veda is now not available. So therefore, because of that only, so what were the, one can say, original sources that were used by Arthashastra teachers? These sources are not available. Second important thing is that most of the Arthashastra teachers believed in a direct evidence of senses. Like the Lokayata thinkers, they believed in direct evidence of senses. Bharadwaja, one of the important teacher of political science, is of the opinion that the Vedas is a samvaran. Vedas is a cover, a cloak for the priests. So whatever is experienced by our senses, that is true and that has to be accepted. Inference, Aptavachan, comparisons, analogies, all these things should be used as the sources of knowledge. But they should be used and they are accepted as long as they are not used to prove certain things like existence of God, like one can say existence of supernatural things. So therefore, inference is, the validity of inference is admitted, but it is admitted to a limited extent, and it is said that it cannot be misused to establish existence of God and all these things. Arthashastra teachers did not believe in existence of God. They did not believe in efficacy of, one can say, religious practices, rituals. And they were saying that the king can use the rituals, the king can perform sacrifices without believing in their efficacy. Because king should show to the people that he is religious. Because people think that religious persons are morally good. That is superstition in the minds of the people that religious people are good. So to exploit that superstition, the king should try to show that he is religious. He is trying to perform religious rituals, but without believing in them. He knows that religious rituals are false. They are useless. But though they are useless, since people want them, people think that one who is performing these rituals is a religious person, and he is a good person, and we should support him. If it helps him to legitimize his authority, let him perform religious rituals. But in his heart, he knows, and he should know that these rituals are superstitions, they are useless. We did not believe in them. Without believing in them also, for political purposes, we can perform these religious. We have discussed the close relationship between Lokayata philosophy and the Arthashastra politics. It is the opinion of Lokayata thinkers that ultimately human life can be improved, safeguarded in a well-organized society, which is ruled over by a sovereign king. There is no God, but there is king, and he enjoys Aishwarya, that is sovereignty. So we should support the king, and under the leadership of the king, who knows Dandanitya, politics, craft of politics very well, we can bring about improvement in the human life. So therefore, there is a close relationship between Dandanitya and politics. And Kautilya in his Arthashastra said that with the help of Dandaniti only, yoga kshema of the people can be ensured. What is the meaning of yoga and kshema? Yoga means acquisition of property, acquisition of means of livelihood. Yoga means acquisition of means of livelihood. And kshema means the situation where whatever is acquired is allowed to be enjoyed. It is the responsibility of the state to see to it that whatever we have acquired with the help of our efforts, that acquired things should be enjoyed by us without any external interference. The thieves should not come and steal our property. The thieves should not come and take away whatever we have acquired. So therefore, ensuring Yogakshema of the people is the essence of Dandaniti. That is the purpose of Dandaniti. Now, I am going to refer to three important dialogues that are there in the Indian literature, which throw a flood of light on the nature of relationship between Lokayat ethics and Arthashastra politics, and the positive alternative that Lokayat philosophy puts forward. The first dialogue is in the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, there is a minister called Jabala. Minister Jabala is an Arthashastra teacher. And Minister Jabala delivered a discourse to Sri Rama. Bharat came to jungle to request Rama to come back and accept the sovereignty. Rama refused to accept Bharat's request, and he said that I will live in the jungle for 14 years as ordered by my father. So Jabala delivered discourse. Half of that discourse is on Lokayata philosophy. And he says that it is good that we should always obey the orders of our parents. But there is a limit to obedience. The relationship between father and son, the relationship between the daughter and mother is that the relationship of a guest house. We stay in a hotel or guest house for 15 days and leave. Then we have no relationship with that guest house. We stay in our parents' house, girl stays for 14, 15 years, boy stays for 16, 20 years, and after that there is no relationship. So therefore, since they are our parents, it is not necessary that we should obey their orders. Because the relationship is temporary. It is not permanent relationship. Secondly, Jabala condemned priests who teach Dharma Shastra and say that orders of the parents should be obeyed and all these things. That is not necessary now. Once you develop in your life, you have to decide the future course of action on the basis of your reason. Reason is important. And third, and the most important point that put forward by Jabala is that when you perform a particular action, you have to think about its consequences. I am warning you that you are not considering the consequences of staying in jungle in exile for 14 years. The consequences of obeying the order of your Dasharatha are going to be very bad for you. The consequences are going to be very bad for the kingdom of Ayodhya. So therefore, one should always consider the consequences of his action. And Rama should consider the consequences of his action. And he said, I am of the opinion that you are staying in the jungle for 14 years. It will be disastrous for you, as well as it will be disastrous for the kingdom of Ayodhya. So Rama refused to accept Jabala's advice. But I think Jabala was prophetic. He told him that if you do this, you are going to suffer. And Rama did suffer, as we know. This is one example of Lokayata teaching. The second example is in Aranyaka Parva of Mahabharata. In the Aranyaka Parva or Vana Parva, there is a constant discussion about the nature of Dharma, the right course of action that is to be followed. Yudhishthira is a supporter of Dharma, Arjuna is a supporter of Artha, and Bhima is a supporter of Kama Purushartha. So that dialogue in Mahabharata continues. So refuting the arguments of Yudhishthira, Draupadi, puts forward her own opinion. She said that when I was very young, I was sitting in the lap of my father, in the court of King Drupada. And at that time, I listened to a discourse delivered by a Barhaspatya Brahmin. Barhaspatya Brahmin means Brahmin who was well versed in Lokayata philosophy. Because Lokayata philosophy was mainly propagated by Brahaspati. Therefore, they are called Barhaspatya Brahmins. So she said that, what did he tell? I still remember what he taught to my father. There are 4 important principles that were expounded by that Brahmin teacher, something like a Brahmin Parivrajaka. He said that in this world, fate is not important, human action is important. Human action is important, human efforts are important. It is with the help of human efforts that cities are established, countries are colonized, mountains are scaled, and rivers are, dams are built on rivers. Without human action, without human efforts, nothing can be done. So therefore, those people who teach that it is fate that is responsible, it is God who is responsible for everything, that is not correct. There is no God, there is no fate. What is there is human efforts. Human efforts are important, and with the help of human efforts only, one can say life of man on the earth is improved. Second thing, what is the role of fate, or what is the role of action as far as human life is concerned? There, that Brahmin told King Drupada that it is not that everything can be done with the help of human action. There are certain things. There are time and place factors. The time and place factors are equally important. A farmer plows the land, farmer brings fertilizers, farmer brings seeds, everything is there. If there is no rains. If there is a drought, human efforts cannot be fruitful. So that element of surprise is there, that is because of time and place factors. If time is not appropriate, your efforts do not succeed. So that aspect is there. Thirdly, human efforts are necessary because with the help of human efforts only, one can say life of the man can be improved and evil designs of our enemies can be defeated. If we do not perform any action, if we go to jungle and perform the penances and say that because of our penances, because of our tapasya, everything will be alright, so that is not correct. Penance is of no use. Trees stand firmly in the sun, in the winter. Trees perform all these things, but trees do not attain renunciation. They don't attain moksha. So, performance of penance is useless. We should not believe in this type of teachings that are given by Vedic Brahmins. So what is important is human efforts. It is with the help of human efforts only. The entire, one can say, civilization is built. Cities are developed. Interactions between human beings take place. So everything in this world which we can see today, that is done because of human efforts, human action. So fate is of your use. So this peculiar type of teaching of Lokayata teacher is preserved in the Aranyaka Parva or Vana Parva Mahabharata. The third discourse is in the Dirgha Nikaya. This is a Buddhist perspective of Lokayata philosophy, very important. In the Dirgha Nikaya, there is a story of King Mahavijita. King Mahavijita was a king, rich king, and he used to perform a number of sacrifices every year. Because of that sacrifices, a number of trees were cut. Because of that sacrifices, Dasa Karmakaras, that means slaves and servants, they had to work tirelessly throughout the years. And because of that hard work, they are in great difficulty, they are in great distress. But king was, one can say, performing these sacrifices, and he was not ready to compromise. The king had a purohit, a royal priest. He was a Lokayata. Specifically, Dirgha Nikaya mentions that the royal priest was a Lokayata teacher. So in the kingdom, royal duties were neglected by king because he was all the time involved in performing the sacrifices. So because of that, there was lawlessness in his kingdom. Theft was committed by a large number of people. There were robberies, there were killings, there was a pillage, and people were not happy. They used to complain. So then, alarmed by all these things, lawlessness and anarchy, the king requested the royal priest to suggest ways and means to overcome this. The royal priest said that if I give some advice to you, if you accept this, there will be considerable improvement as far as political situation in our country is concerned. King said, we will arrest and kill all the robbers who are involved in robbery. Priest said, the Lokayata teacher said, you can kill few hundred robbers. But if the cause of robbery remains, new robbers will come, new robbers will take birth. If the cause of robbery is there, robbery cannot be abolished. Then he said that if that is the case, I will bribe them. I will bribe all the robbers so that they are robbing people because of money only. So I will pay them money. What is the problem? He said that then that is an incentive for robbery. If you are giving money to robbers and asking them to not to commit robbery, few robbers will say that all right, they will take money, they will keep quiet, but others will say that if you rob the people, king is going to reward you, then they will start committing robbery. So robbery will not stop, it will proliferate. King said, then sir, you suggest me the way. He said that what is important, people are committing robbery because they don't have jobs. Therefore, you give seed, land and capital to those people who are ready to do agriculture, farming. You give seed and capital to traders, those people who want to trade. You give jobs and services to those people who want to perform this, who want to join the services. You give them jobs, you give them capital, you give them land and seeds, and let us see what happens. The king accepted this. He gave land to the landless people, seeds to them, capital to traders, and service to some people. And after a couple of times, he said that stop sacrifices, no sacrifices. No trees will be cut, nothing will be destroyed, no dakshina should be given to Brahmins. and no animals will be sacrificed, no money will be spent on sacrifices. King accepted. So after a couple of years, situation completely changed. People got jobs, those who were doing agriculture, farming, they also started cultivating the land, and they also got good returns. The revenue of the king, there was improvement as far as revenue is concerned. There was total tranquility as far as kingdom is concerned. Robbery stopped. So this was the teaching of Lokayata philosophers. According to Professor D.D. Kosambi, this is something like teaching in modern political economy. In modern political economy, modern economists suggest these things. And that was done by Lokayata teacher, and he did it successfully. Then the king was happy. Then he said, I have one request, sir. I have one request, sir. He said, what is your request? He said, I want to perform the sacrifice. He could not forget the sacrifice ultimately. The Lokayata teacher said there are three things. You can perform sacrifice, but there are three conditions I put forward. First condition is to take the permission of all the Paurajanpada, all leading citizens of the city. To take their permission, whether they want to have sacrifice or not. Secondly, you see to it that Dasakammakaras, that is slaves and workers, servants, are not employed. Don't oppress them. Thirdly, no trees will be cut. Fourthly, no animal will be sacrificed. Fifthly, no dakshina will be given to Brahmins. You don't give gifts to anybody, don't accept any gift from others. And those people, still those people who want to give gifts, you tell them that instead of giving gift to the king, use that money for constructing guest houses, rest houses, tanks, wells, and other public works which are useful for the society. Then you can do it. I have no objection. So Buddha completely changes the meaning of sacrifice with the help of this. So this is a combination of Lokayata ethics, Lokayata politics, and Buddhist ethics. So therefore, what is the legacy of Lokayata ethics and Chausalkar politics? So these three dialogues of Jabala, dialogue of Jabala, dialogue of Bharat Brahmin, and the story of Mahavijita king. And the name of that Lokayata teacher is not given. That Lokayata teacher's almost modern prescription for the improvement of the socio-economic condition in that country. These clearly show that this is the, one can say, legacy, positive legacy of this ancient political tradition, ancient political wisdom, which is unfortunately not put forward before the people. Normally, Indian philosophy is, they say that Indian philosophy is completely spiritual, otherworldly. It talks about renunciation. It has nothing to do with like assertion. As far as Indian political philosophy is concerned, it is based upon dharma. Principle of dharma is important, and king has to protect the dharma and all these things. So their spiritualism is considered very important. Spiritualism is considered very important, and keeping these things in mind, as far as this ancient tradition is concerned, this ancient tradition is very relevant even today in the age of fundamentalism, in the age of narrow sectarianism, in the age of, one can say, hatred and violence. The teaching of these thinkers is very important, and this is the great legacy of Lokayat ethics and Arthashastra politics. I am extremely thankful to the organizers of this workshop for inviting me to deliver a lecture. I retired 7 years ago, but still I am remembered and I am invited to deliver a lecture, and I am extremely thankful to you for giving me very patient. Thank you.